The edge of the desert, when the drugs begin to take hold.
You're either in or you're out, right now.
I want to gamble.
I never want to hear those words out of your mouth again.
Gambling is not your problem.
Has anybody ever told you before your bad luck?
Most gamblers, when they go to gamble, they go to win.
Those were my mother's dying words.
When we go to gamble, we go to lose. Show me the money.
Let's get out of here, man.
Show you the money.
Honestly, let's just go. Let's go to Vegas.
Look at you back to that, Jerry. I want you to say what you would mean it, brother. Show me the money!
It's the Sports Memory Vegas pregame show.
Happy Saturday, everybody. And we got a special edition of the gambling show today. We have the all-knowing, probably the man that knows most about sports that I know, Newman, in the house to drop some gambling advice and just kind of cover some of the games we got going in college, NBA, and NHL. How are you doing today, Newman?
Pretty good. Got a good night's sleep last night. Ready to rock and roll here.
Awesome. Cool. So I know you're a big college basketball fan. It's my second favorite sport behind the NFL, and both of our teams are playing today. So let's just start with IU versus Michigan State. That game tips at noon, and weirdly, it's the team Archie Miller has dominated. He has won his last 4 against Tom Izzo, and they are favored today at home. But if anyone watched IU versus Ohio State last week, it was a slugfest. Ohio State just beat the hell out of them. So I think IU wins. But if anything, any gambling, I'm taking the under. I think both teams really struggle to score. Foster Lawyer, Michigan State starting point guard, is out as well. So I think it's an all kinds of ugly game. As a non-Big Ten fan, Newman, are you checking in at this game at all, or do you have other games you're lined up looking at noon?
So I'm going to be locked in on Florida State for the most part, but I may flip around here and there. That's definitely a game worth checking in my opinion, just because I kind of like to see what's going on with some of the Big Ten action and stuff. I think you're right in terms of the under on that. That's a strong bet. I do kind of like Indiana. Michigan State is just kind of all over the place, and then you're without their point guard. TJD should have a monster game, so I expect Indiana to win. And
Michigan State,
you can take that bet if you want.
Yeah, Michigan State's doesn't have any size, so I stay away from college player props because I have a fundamental issue with college player props. But yes, bet the over in whatever they're giving TJD because I think he is that
fundamental issue that we can bet on them and yet they can't make any money off of it.
Correct. Yes, that is me being able to make money off somebody that cannot make money. I don't fundamentally agree with. But let's talk about college teams that are paying their players. The Kentucky Wildcats. They're in the SEC. I know when we spoke on the podcast earlier this week, you were shitting on Tennessee. So what is your vibe on Kentucky, Tennessee today?
I'm all Kentucky on that. Like I said, I don't really think Tennessee's all that impressive. I think the line I saw was 7.5 points or something.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the thing about Kentucky. Every game they play is close. They may lose the game, but it's going to be close. So I would definitely take Kentucky to cover the point spread there. And then they have a pretty damn good chance of winning outright just because I don't think Tennessee's all that good. And for some reason, Kentucky tends to play up against Tennessee, even if Cal is not, having one of his better seasons. So
is this a rivalry? I love having you on because I would never talk about this if you weren't on here. Is the Kentucky-Tennessee thing a rivalry in your mind?
Well, so here's the thing about the SEC East in terms of basketball. It's pretty much been dominated by Kentucky. The SEC in general has been dominated by Kentucky in terms of basketball until, the recently, last decade and a half or so. Florida had a couple good runs. They are up and down. Currently, Mike White is And okay, coach, he's never going to win a national championship at Florida, so you don't have to worry about that. But I mean, sometimes they give Kentucky some trouble, but they until Mike White's able to actually beat Florida State, I have very, very little trouble continuing to rip him. So yeah, I mean, in my opinion, this is probably one of the closer matchups in this. Tennessee is so overrated. I don't understand it. Every time I watch them play, they never do anything impressive. I don't get what the love for them is, and so I'm going to continue to fade them. It's one of those things where it's like if I'm shorting the stock market, I take things where I don't understand why it's doing well, and I'm like, there's no reason for this. Short.
Right, no, for sure. I like UK. They're not quite my upset special. For those that have listened to the show long enough, I always drop an upset special. They were very, very close to being my upset special today. I've talked about it on previous shows. Really youthful teams that rely on 4-star freshman talent are going to start to turn it on. Because really, I mean, we're sitting here February, but really for as far as practice and game time, we're kind of just turning into January if you on a typical college basketball schedule. So I think you're starting to see a lot of teams like Duke, who we're going to cover here in a bit, Kentucky, North Carolina, a lot of these teams that are very young, that have a lot of talent, are going to start turning the corner. Right now, I don't want to play any of those teams. So I'm with you. I'm taking Kentucky to cover, and I'm also taking the over because I think this gets into a little bit of a shootout there in Knoxville today. But you already covered, so let's jump ahead a little bit.
One thing about that game in terms of the over that I am a little bit hesitant about is that Kentucky is not really a great shooting team.
No, they can't. No, they rely on offensive rebounding. It's offensive rebounding and transition is how
and their best shooter doesn't even get to play. So one of my buddies who is a big Kentucky fan talks about it, and Allen is by far their best shooter. He's not great defensively. So for some reason, Cal continues to bench him in key moments. And it's like, listen, we need some points. Put your best scorer out there. I don't get it. But that's just one of the Cal's things where he apparently knows better than the rest of us. But this one seems to be biting him a little bit.
Yeah, it's more, I'm just getting sucked into that super low line. Like 137 points isn't a lot of points.
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
Literally all you need is 71 to 70, and that covers. Right.
And if you're going to predict that game, you're probably putting it somewhere closer to like 82-77 or something like that.
Exactly. So like, you're right. Like if we're actually breaking down the way UK and UT play, the under is probably the safe bet. I'm just getting absorbed with that super low number is what I'm getting sucked into. But let's keep it in the SEC and cover Georgia, Florida. Which I think is going to be an absolute points fest. And you've kind of already covered Mike White. Should the casual fan care about this game at all? Because right now, neither team are projected to make the tournament, but I think neither one of these teams play defense. So I think this is a fun game on the surface. But what are your thoughts on maybe either one of these teams?
Yeah, if you're not really a fan of either of these teams, I don't see any reason to check in. There's much better games on at the same time. So, I mean, I don't know why you would watch it other than if you are actually a Florida or Georgia fan, or have some money riding on it. So I don't. I think
there's gonna be tons of points. Again, Vegas thinks so too. Again, we just talked about a line that's the line's at 155. That is a shit ton of points.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be a ton of points. I'm even taking the over in that one because I lived with Tom Crean for 9 years. The guy doesn't know how to coach defense. So Tom Crean and an over is always very, very safe. All right, let's move to some a little bit more competitive games in the game that I think is the game of the day. Texas Tech, Kansas. What are your initial thoughts on that game in the Big 12?
So I was actually a little surprised when I saw that Kansas was favored. It's a very slim margin. They are at home, but they haven't really been playing well lately.
No.
Texas Tech hasn't been playing great, but I just think that they've faced a rough patch in their schedule as opposed to really them playing poorly, they've lost some close games lately. So to me, I think that's one where they're definitely going to come out. And here's the thing: Kansas is the bully in that conference, right? They have been for a long time. So teams tend to play up when they play against Kansas. That's still going to hold true. I expect Texas Tech to come out ahead in that game.
Absolutely, and this is my upset special, and it's a little bit of a cheat because it's only plus 116, so you're not getting a huge value with that plus money, but it's still plus money. It's still 2-1 regardless. I love Chris Beard. I like the brand of basketball he coaches. I like his fire. He reminds me of an old school coach. And Kansas they run a 2-guard system. And right now they don't have 2 lead guards to run that system, and they're really struggling to score the ball. So I'm taking, not in a parlay, just by itself, I'm taking Texas Tech as an upset here. Are you riding that wagon as well, Newman?
Yeah, I definitely like that bet. Here's another interesting fact about Texas Tech. They're one of the few teams in the country that have consistently made it to the Sweet 16 the last 4 years. I think they're one of 3 or something like that. So it's a really good team. They tend to play better down the stretch. And yeah, I like Chris Beard a lot too. So plus you got your boy Mac over there.
Mac McClung, yeah. So you see me wearing my IU cream and crimson. How good would Chris Beard look as head coach of the Indiana Hoosiers? Pretty good? Pretty good?
I don't know.
Pretty good? God, I don't like Archie Miller.
He won't age as well as Leonard Hamilton has.
No, he will not. That guy, I'd have a drink with him for sure. Let's stay in the Big 12 in probably the second best game of the day in 2 teams that I really can't figure out. They both won me money and they both lost me money. West Virginia and Texas. And they're both kind of Jekyll and Hyde teams. Sometimes they look like teams that can make it to the Final Four. Sometimes they look at like teams that can lose in the round of 68 or round of 32. So what's your feel for West Virginia, Texas today?
I wouldn't go that far in terms of saying I think that they can lose that early, because I think it actually speaks to the breadth of that conference. It's really, really deep. There's a lot of really good teams. So when you get tough matchups, it's hard to bring your A game every week, especially on the road. These are still kids, and they're facing even more difficult situations than they normally face in the COVID situation. So, I mean, for me, with the West Virginia, Texas thing, I like Texas today at home. I mean, it's the easier pick, obviously. And then, but these are 2 really good coaches. Shaka Smart, who's had deep runs with VCU before taking over at Texas, and then Huggy Bear, who, obviously has been around the block quite a while. So,
yeah, no, so here's my comparison that I've made on this show several times. I think Texas is a better version of Florida State. I think Texas is they have similar length. They have good coaching. They have good systems. I like Texas. They can score the ball a little bit better than Florida State, but I like both of those teams going into the tournament here a month out. Are you with me on that as a Florida State fan?
No,
you like Florida State more than Texas. Interesting.
I think Florida State has a higher ceiling than Texas does.
Is that because of your point guard?
The thing about Florida State is that they have they can shoot the ball really well when they're on, and then they have days where they're just completely off. They don't bring energy. They have a much lower floor. So Florida State is absolutely one of those teams where they could lose in the first round, or they could win the whole damn thing. I just think that they have a higher ceiling when they're on, when they're clicking on all cylinders. They run 12 deep easily. Everybody can contribute. They have guys that can, what kind of system do you want to run? You know what I mean? They have a way to stop it defensively because they have the bigs to play. They have the length. Everyone's tall on Florida State except for like one guy on scholarship. So they can, outsize you. They can, they're quick. Scotty Barnes is like 6'9", and he plays the point guard for Florida State. So if they want to, they can switch everything. It's just a really tough matchup to defend. So when they're shooting well and when their offense is clicking, it makes it really tough on other teams. Now, Texas wants to play more press. I wish Florida State played more press, because when you are as deep as them
and as long as them, I mean, when they cover baseline to baseline, like it's intimidating. I don't know why they don't. So is it because they're just not deep enough? Do they not have a big enough roster to do that?
No, they definitely are. They absolutely can. I have seen one thing this year. It seems like every game Florida State has had a key starter or somebody missing or out for some reason. One of their main contributors. I don't know if this is something that they're actually doing intentionally, that these little nagging injuries, they're like, just have a seat tonight. It's not an important game, or it's not as big a game. So we don't need you, because Balsa Copa-Reach has sat out. Anthony Polite sat out. Scotty Barnes has sat out. So, I mean, just across the board, there's been a guy missing, it seems like, lately. And I don't know if that's just, hey, we need to learn how to play without one of our key guys, or what's going on exactly, but it seems like there has been some of that. And then Florida State because they do have a combination of, some really talented young players, but also, and some transfers and stuff that they've had brought in. And then they don't have, they didn't have the full off season to really get into shape. Maybe that's why they're not running or pressing as much, but I wish that they would do more of it.
Yeah, so let's talk about their game today, because we've already covered IU. We like IU over Michigan State. Florida State's playing what I think is a dangerous Pitt team. They have Justin Champagnie, who is one of the best players in the country. They have Xavier Johnson, who's one of the better guards in the ACC. They've already beat Syracuse. They've already beat Virginia Tech. They've already beat Duke. They've already beat Louisville. They have some really impressive wins, but they've also lost some really bad games, and they're on a slide right now. They've lost 3 in a row. So I like Florida State getting 6.5. I think they actually win by double digits today, but Pitt's kind of a scary team if you look on who they've beaten. Are you scared at all today going into the Oakland Zoo?
Yeah, I actually am. Pitt has beaten us up there the last couple times. They tend to play us pretty hard. And Champagne
that's one thing you're going to get from a Jeff Capel team. He's really changed that identity to back to what they had with Jamie Dixon on being a gritty team, which I really like. I'm obviously from Pittsburgh. I follow the Pitt program pretty closely. I like what Jeff Capel's building up there. I just think Florida State's just way too talented for Pitt. Pitt just can't match.
And they're
them.
too deep. I think they're too deep. That's where this is a game where you're going to see Florida State's depth come into play. Champagnie, the thing about him, he's only like 6'6". Yeah. So as much as a great rebounder and scorer as he is, Florida State,
they can match that.
Everybody on Florida State is like 6'6". So it's just one of those things where it's like Scotty Barnes may just go down, and there's a chance we play small, in all honesty. I see Balsa Copa-Reach.
Florida State can't play small. Florida State's too big to play small.
No, but what I mean is, instead of playing, so Balsa will get his minutes, but outside of Balsa, we do have a couple other guys. One guy's name is Ngam. He may not play all that much tonight. Quincy Ballard may not play all that much today. So you could see Malik Osborne playing more of the 5, and he's more of a traditional 4. So there's some of that you may see.
Are we on upset alert at all in the Oakland Zoo?
No. I don't think so. Here's the thing. Florida State's depth is so good that they will wear you out in the first half. It may be close, right? They may even be winning by the end of the first half. Then at some point in the second half, Florida State's going to make a run, and Pitt will either respond and make a run back, and then Florida State will pull away, or Pitt won't be able to respond at all, and we'll see the Green Vipers, Florida State's walk-ons, playing at the end of the game.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for, because I'm definitely taking Florida State today, but it's not my lock. My lock is, unsurprisingly, in the Big Ten. You have Minnesota down their starting shooting guard, and Minnesota just looks lost right now. They're a bubble team. Joe Lunardi has them currently as a 10 seed. I don't see how they get into the tournament at all. Illinois, who I love. If you want to talk about high ceiling, low floor, Kofi Cockburn and Ayu Dosunmu are two of the best talents in all of college basketball. Unfortunately, I think the coach there in Champaign isn't very good. But there's a lot of talent with Illinois, and they're only getting 5 points. That is my lock of the day. I don't think we need to talk about this game, but Newman, I want your thoughts on Illinois as a potential Final Four team. Are they somebody you are circling on your bracket as a team that can make for a run, or are they a team that potentially flames out early?
I think it depends on their draw, honestly. And I mean, that's a cop out. It's a cop out answer, but they're not a team that to me can beat a ton of the top 6 to 8 if they do wind up on like a 3 line. So it depends.
Yeah, they're definitely going to get a 2 or 3 seed for sure.
Yeah, so if they wind up as a 2 line, that helps them out a little bit more because that means they're going to be playing a lesser opponent. But if they wind up as a 3 seed, it depends on who they get as their 2 in order to make it that far. Because I don't think they're probably not going to be favored over any of the number 1 seeds. And then the 2, it just depends on who they play and how the matchup works out.
So again, I mean, I know we've covered a lot of Florida State, of course, because we have you on today. But Florida State's fighting Illinois for a seeding. I think right now Illinois is on the 2 line and Florida State's on the 3 line. But I like Florida State. I think they have a system and they have a team that can make a deeper run than Illinois. I probably have Illinois getting upset in probably the Sweet 16. They're a team for me that I think is prime for an upset.
I could definitely absolutely see that. They also don't have a ton of experience playing.
No, they don't.
The tournament. Whereas Florida State, obviously nobody can say that they played in the tournament last year because we didn't have one. But the 3 prior years, Florida State made the Sweet 16. So they're a team that is consistently making deep runs into the tournament. And they've played Gonzaga like three years in a row in there. So we'll see if they send Florida State out west again. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
Let's to finish out college basketball. I want to cover 2 more games that teams that certainly have NCAA experience. Louisville, UNC. It's an ACC game that doesn't have the flair that UNC Louisville would normally have. What is your beat on either one of these teams? Are either one making the tournament, and should we care at all about either one of these teams?
Honestly, I kind of think both make the tournament.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
That may be your ACC flavor there, because I don't think either one makes it.
I mean, you have 3 teams in the ACC that you're pretty much guaranteed to put in, and then it becomes, who do you like best out of Clemson, UNC, Louisville, Duke, etc., whoever. I want to say the ACC probably gets 5. So I'd say that those 2 are the last 2 of the ACC teams that get in. Interesting.
Okay, so let's go to the next game. This is a great Newman segue into UVA Duke, because I do like the way Duke's playing right now. They lost that quitter. I'm not even going to say his name. He literally gives 5 stars, all Americans a bad name. Like what he did, he completely quit on his team. I hate it, but they're better for it. So are you worried about Duke at all as far as the ACC tournament? And can Duke upset Virginia today at Cameron Indoor?
No.
Oh, all right.
No.
You're cold on Duke. You don't have them making the tournament. You don't have them winning today. What's your problem with Duke?
They have not played good basketball at all this year, except for the last couple games. And realistically, they're not exactly playing top tier competition. So, I mean, they haven't played Florida State yet. This is their matchup with Virginia. I think Virginia smokes them.
They played NC State, Wake Forest, and Notre Dame. You're right. I mean, that's kind of the doldrums of the ACC.
Yeah, those are 3 of the 5 worst teams in the ACC or something like that. So,
correct.
Good job, Duke. You're beating up on the lower teams. And
they finished with Virginia, Syracuse, Louisville. So, I mean, if they want to stack their resume, the opportunity is there for Duke.
Sure, but they're probably going to lose to Virginia. They're probably going to lose to Louisville. So.
All right, I'm not quite. Again, I already gave my upset special. I'm taking Texas Tech. But I'm definitely monitoring this Duke-Virginia game, and depending on how many beverages I have today, I may throw money on Duke. Anything else college basketball you want to cover
today?
Go
for it. Let me see.
We covered most of it. I like
Vandy,
Auburn.
Vandy Bama is kind of interesting a little bit because obviously Bama is the best team by far in the SEC. So that's a little bit interesting because of that. I see that you got the over as 153.5, which to me is right around where it's probably going to finish.
Right. If I was betting that game, I would take the over, but it's tough.
So I actually would probably lean, give me Bama in the cover because
it's double digits. I just always get scared with free throws at the end and garbage time in basketball, whether it's NBA or college. Like you said it, throwing on walk-ons at the end of the game. I just always get scared of a backdoor cover with college basketball, and Bama's currently giving double digit favorite. So that's why I stay away from that, because a 12-point lead can quickly become 8 in a under 2-minute scenario.
Sure, absolutely. But I mean, if I was going to bet on the game, I think that's the route I would go, because you know what else walk-ons hurt is overs. So
yes, they do. They do. Nobody is scoring when Johnny Basketball's in the game. Cool. Again, I think Newman and I have discussed the college basketball show. I know this is going longer than we normally go, but we both love college basketball. Newman's knowledge isn't just contained to college basketball. He's like this in everything. He's incredible. So let's move on to some other sports here. A small NBA slate, but there's a couple games we like. Starting with me, my NBA play of the game, which is going to play into my Brandon's parlay, is Wizards at Portland. Portland isn't playing the best basketball, but the Wizards are the worst team in the league. So they're only getting 4.5. Slam that. I think Portland wins by double digits. It's going to be the only game I tune into today on the NBA slate, but I think that's probably it's not quite my lock of the day. My lock of the day was Illinois over Minnesota, but I think that's a slam dunk. Newman, what are you watching today in the NBA?
I was just trying to check something real quick. I believe so. Golden State played the Orlando Magic last night. They're on the road. And then they have to go up to Charlotte today. So to me, on the back-to-back, I like the Hornets to cover that. If you watch any of that Magic Golden State game, Vucevic had a triple-double, and the Magic actually had a big lead at halftime. Then at one point in time, they were down 11 in the second half and stormed all the way back and won the game. So it's one of those very up and like Steph Curry and the rest of Golden State expended a lot of energy. The game wound up lasting a little bit longer than people kind of expected it to. So then to have to go to Charlotte and play a pretty decent Charlotte team that is playing really well. I like Charlotte to take the money line there. And they are getting 1.5, whatever, not worth anything. But
you know what? I was a big fan of the Hornets. I still am. Cody Zeller is out for the season, so I haven't watched as much. Cody Zeller is my favorite NBA or IU NBA player currently. Very close to OG Anunoby. I love OG Anunoby from the Tampa Bay Raptors.
Are you a no Oladipo fan?
No, fuck Oladipo. He burned Indianapolis to the ground. Messy divorce, man. That was I don't know how much you followed it, but he trash talked the city and the team. I'm a Pacer fan, kind of. It was a messy divorce. So no, fuck Victor Oladipo. Yeah. But I love Cody Zeller. So you know what? I'll pull for the Fighting LaMelo Balls. Let's go Balls tonight, plus 104. I'm in.
And then just to touch on one more thing, Heat at Lakers, I saw that you have here. You like the under on that. I think that's a smart play, especially with no Anthony Davis.
No Anthony Davis, and the Heat like to slow the game down. They're really, really good at that. They know that they can't keep up with the horses that the Lakers have, even with Anthony Davis out. So I like that game to be played at a slower pace and taking the under. But the only play I'm actually, I may take a flyer on the Fighting Balls at 2-1 at plus 104. You may have convinced me there. Both of us are both NHL fans. Both of our teams have had success over the last decade plus, and both of our teams are playing today. So let's start with the Penguins. They just beat the Islanders 2 nights ago, 4-1, pretty convincingly, which is why I was surprised to see the line at only minus 130. I'm taking Pittsburgh there. To win the game. So I think that's a pretty convincing game. I don't think it's not on national TV. It won't be an awesome game, but I think it's a slam dunk play. The Islanders are really struggling to score right now, and Tristan Jarry in net for the Penguins is actually playing really, really well. He's turned his season around quite a bit in the last 3 games in net. But let's talk about Tampa, who has won me literally so much money this year. They're on the road against Carolina. Newman, what are your thoughts on this game?
So here's the interesting thing about this game. Tampa was supposed to play Dallas, but due to ice storms in Texas, Texas, that's right, has frozen over. If you haven't been paying attention, they canceled that game, and then they decided, last minute, oh, hey, let's just have Tampa go play Carolina, which was the game that was supposed to be played on March 28th or something, and move that all the way up so that it frees up some down schedule stuff, which you're going to see a lot of this. Florida State's actually playing Pitt. They were supposed to play Virginia Tech today. So same kind of thing. But to me, Tampa hasn't played in a little bit. They did just kind of get their butts whooped by Florida in a 3-game set where Florida took 2 of them, and in pretty convincing fashion. Although Curtis McElhaney couldn't catch a cold if he wanted to, couldn't stop anything. Like, it's ridiculous. So anyway, going into that game, I think Tampa Bay is going to come out very strong. They're going to be fresh, and so I do like them to win that game.
Only minus 112. I mean, I think that's Tampa still, in my mind, is the best team in the league. Minus 112 is crazy to me.
And I believe, did Carolina play last night as well?
Let me look. I'm literally on it on ESPN's app.
Yes, they did. They played against the Blackhawks. So
5-3.
A fresh Tampa team. I'm going to take them to win, and I think it's pretty safe to bet the over on that as well.
The over, nice. Yeah. So, again, anyone that's been listening, I've been hammering NHL overs. There's 2 more overs I like. I like the Rangers Capitals over. Both teams are both really struggling in net. So I like the over in Rangers Capitals. Any thoughts on that game, Newman?
Not really. I mean, the Rangers are so bad.
Rangers are so bad, and the Capitals, they just have so many dudes. Like, they don't play any defense, and they were struggling in net. So I've been hammering Capitals overs for a while now, especially against the Rangers. Out west, we do have 2 teams that I think are at least in the Stanley Cup conversation in Colorado and Vegas. Mm-hmm. And any feel for that game? Marcus isn't on. He loves both of these teams today.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Colorado is that they can kind of be shut down if you mostly stop McKinnon. And I think Vegas has the horses to do that. So I like Vegas in this.
Vegas is a little bit of again. So we cover football a lot in here, and you've heard a lot on our shows that if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. Vegas doesn't really have a goalie. Lanen and Fleury kind of bounce back and forth, and I think that's an incredibly volatile situation. If I was Vegas, I would try to move one of them and commit to one of them. Any thoughts there on kind of goalie strategy for Vegas?
No, I mean, I agree with you that it's like, so what Tampa's doing is Andrei Vasilevsky, who played every minute of the playoffs for the Lightning last year in their Stanley Cup run, it just is going to probably play, like, what are they playing? Totally 56 games. He's probably going to play 45 of them, if not more. So
that's the way to go. You need to commit. You need to get in a groove. You need a goalie to find themselves. And Vegas just isn't doing that. And I think that's their biggest downfall.
But here's the problem with that, right? So if you want to talk about trading one of your goalies who they're, premium assets in this league, they have to play in order to have value, right? So, like, you kind of have to play both of them if you're going to trade one of them and just see which one gives you the most value or which one you like better. But it's definitely one of those things. It's like an old baseball trick is if you're a team that's not going to be good, you take some Joe Schmo reliever who pump him full of a bunch of saves, and then you trade him at the deadline and you get some premium assets back for him. So that's one of those kind of things. It's not, obviously this is a good team, so they're not necessarily trying to do that. They want to win. But as the season progresses, I think you're going to see them work down to one guy's going to play a lot more than the other one.
I would love, and again, this is my inner Pittsburgh Penguin coming over. I would love a Fleury Penguin reunion cup run. That would literally make my life. So I want the Penguins to go out and get Fleury from Vegas. That's my pipe dream. As we finish this thing out, any other plays?
Do you have a pick on that game?
I'm taking again, the under's the favorite, but I think both of these teams, in my mind, when two teams play in hockey, things tend to speed up. So I'm going to take the over simply because I've been crushing overs. But if I'm going to take, I'm going to take Colorado money line and the over. But I'm not actually going to bet that game. I'm just going to watch it and enjoy it because I think you could have a Western Conference final in that game.
Yeah, I think I like the over on that too.
Yeah, cool. To like I said, to wrap things up here, any parlays, any other plays you want to cover before we go put our butts on the couch and watch college basketball?
Yeah, so I mean, if you want a college basketball parlay, just straight that. I like, as I mentioned, I like Kentucky getting a lot. I think you're going to get plenty of value on that as a money line parlay. And then you can pair, that one big underdog there with that, with a couple of toss-ups here. So, I mean, I would probably lean.
If I'm hearing you right, you're pairing up Texas Tech and UK. That pays out over 500 if you pair that together. If you're pairing Kentucky, Texas Tech together as upsets, that pays out very, very well.
That's actually exactly what I would do. I would go Texas Tech and UK, and then you can kind of pick whoever. It doesn't really matter, whichever one you like best once you've got the two of those locked in there.
Yep, for sure. For me today, my DraftKings,
I would go Duke. Or Virginia over Duke is my
Virginia over Duke. Ooh,
yeah,
not me, my friend. Not me, my friend. DraftKings currently has a 33% profit boost on a 4-game parlay. So I'm taking Georgia Tech. We didn't cover this game at all, but I think Miami might be the worst team in the ACC. So I'm taking Georgia Tech -3.5. I'm taking Illinois -4 as my lock of the day. I'm taking Florida State -6.5. And I'm taking Georgia, Florida over because, again, Tom Crean literally doesn't know the word defense. That pays out at plus 1,300, folks.
So if you want a tidbit on Miami, just know that they have had extreme injury problems. So they're basically they're down to like four scholarship players or something. I don't even think they have like 5. It might be 6, but they're really hamstrung in terms of the scholarship players, and so that just means that they're bad. And Georgia Tech is a team with a lot of upside. They've beaten Florida State. They've almost beaten Virginia. They've beaten some other good teams. So
they're on the road. They're on the road, but yeah, I think again we didn't cover it because honestly nobody should watch Georgia Tech Miami. That's a game nobody should watch.
No, you don't watch that.
But I do think Georgia Tech is a slam dunk gambling play. At 3.5. So Georgia Tech, Illinois, Florida State over Florida, Georgia. That pays at plus 1,300, folks. If you go and get that odds boost, that's paying up at over plus 1,500. So that's my DraftKings 4-game parlay. Go make yourself a lot of money. My Brandon parlay, I'm taking my lock of the day, Illinois -4. I'm taking the Blazers over the pitiful Washington Wizards. -4.5. And again, I'm rolling Lightning. Lightning all day. If you want to make one bet today, take Lightning to win. Newman went over it. Carolina's on a back-to-back. Tampa Bay is rested. Tampa Bay is the best in the league. They're primed for a bounce back. So, as always, everybody, we will be back on podcasting next week. We'll have this show again next Saturday. Newman, been a blast, man. We're going to have to make this a regular thing.
Sounds good to me, man.
All right. See ya.